tutorial happens to be the continuation we hope to complete by the conclude for the course today. All right, so that happens to be the continuation of the course, part 251, and we're going to be talking about, just as the thumbnail says, impression formation. So as we said, let's get straight into it. So we have part 251, part 251. I want to talk about impression formation. Just before we talk about impression formation, I would have us, I think I need to reduce this a bit. Okay, yeah, I think that's better. So just before we talk about impression formation, in our last class, we talked about, okay, in our last class we talked about some points we need to bring back, some points we need to discuss before we move, all right, before we talk about today's class. Okay, so now we have, okay, we talked about, in our last class we talked about some points on, all right, we said something about verbal communication and non-verbal communication, and considering that, we talked about we made mention of some points on non-verbal communication, speaking of the use of gesture, all right, to communicate. You don't have to, right, use of gesture to communicate. Speaking of the likes of facial expression under the non-verbal communication, the facial expression, gesture, we have paralinguistic, and we have body language as well. All these we actually discussed in our last class. So still on that, we just want to take it up from some theories here, propounded by some scholars. Then we can move straight ahead to impression formulation. So starting with tonight class, just a minute, I'm trying to adjust my keynote. So starting with tonight's class, we have okay, we have the Darwin theory of universal facial expression. Okay, the Darwin theory of universal facial expression. Okay, so let's take it up from there. Now, one obvious way we have, okay, of doing this is by making specific facial expression. Now, we smile, speaking of non-verbal communication, elaborating on facial expression, all right. One way we get to do this when we get to smile, all right, or when we are angry, we frown. And we okay, are we together? The network is pretty bad. Just trying to switch between networks now. Okay, are we together? Okay, now, just like I was saying, facial expression, communication, okay, under non-verbal communication, and we actually do this by smiling, all right, when we are happy, and we frown when we are sad. And basically this does communicate. it does sends a message. All right, please just pardon me, give me a moment. I need to adjust my material, and I wouldn't want to interfere with the stream. All right, so just pardon me and give me a moment to quickly do the adjustments, and we all can be all right on the same page. Okay, just a moment. Okay, let's try and adjust my material very quickly so you all can be on the same page. Okay, I think there's a mix-up with the thumbnail. All right, so I'm just going to adjust that as soon as the class is over. All right, but it's actually, I think there's a mix-up somewhere with the okay, the thumbnail. Okay, just a moment. Okay, so we are actually back, and we are live again, and so I think there's a mix-up with the thumbnail. So it's just that this class actually is part 251. It's actually this class want to take is part 251. Okay, but we just have to switch it. All right, supposed to have part 251, but unfortunately somehow I launched the class for ECO system ECO247. So we are taking ECO247 now. Then we'll take part 251 after this class. So we are taking ECO247. So then we'll take part 2. All right. Speaking of ECO247, we are hoping to also call it a wrap for the course today, and ensure, all right, hoping to call it a wrap for the course today, and also ensure that we touch everywhere we need to touch. Now, please pay attention to, all right, pay detailed attention to the class because there are lots, okay, there are lots to note. Now, speaking of the Nigerian financial system, now let's talk about what a financial system is itself, okay? What is a financial system? Now, a financial system is said to be what? A financial system is said to be a conglomerate of various markets. Financial system, a what? Conglomerate of financial system. All right, speaking of a conglomerate, okay, conglomerate, that's the E, a conglomerate yes, we apologize for that. There's actually a mix up. We are supposed to have part 251, yes, but I realized that I was already on the live, so we apologize for that, please. So we are going to have part immediately after this class. Okay, so we are going to have part 251 immediately after this class. All right, so now we are taking ECO247, and I won't be able to end this stream and go back to part. So we apologize for that. So please, let's just exercise some patience. Immediately after this class, then we'll take part 251. Okay, so now let's continue. Okay, now speaking of financial market, financial system, it is said to be All right, a system that is made up of, okay, it is said to be a system that is made up of a system that consists what of conglomerates, various markets, instruments, operation, and institution. A conglomerate of various market, instrument, all right, and institutions. So please, in this class, I won't be writing, I'll be doing less of the writing and more of the point highlighting because we have a long way to go. Now, when we speak of financial system, we are simply talking about a conglomerate, all right, a very versatile, a very large, all right, a conglomerate, a whole that is made up of a lot of subsystems. Okay, a whole made up of a lot of subsystems. Okay, and okay, and it's characterized. It is made up of series of various institutions. All right, materials, institutions, instruments, operations of what of various financial services, all right, within an economy. Now let me take that again. It's made up of conglomerate of various market, instruments, and what institution within, okay, within an economy, okay, within an economy to provide financial services. So we have within an economy to provide what we call financial services. Now, speaking of that, the Nigerian financial system, speaking of the Nigerian financial system itself, it is made up of the Central Bank of Nigeria, all right, Nigerian financial system. It's made up of the Central Bank of Nigeria, that is the CBN. We also have the FMF, Federal Ministry of Finance, FMF, all right. So every institution, their apex body that does what consists of market, instruments, and institutions. All right. So when we talk about financial institutions that provide financial services, all right, within an economy here in Nigeria, all right, providing financial services, all right, that's what we have here under the Nigerian financial system. So we have CBN as the apex body, all right, CBN and the FMS. Then we have the Nigerian Insurance Supervisory Body, all right, NISB, Nigerian Insurance Supervisory Body, NSB, and we also have SEC. We have Security Exchange Commission. Also, we have Security Exchange Commission, SEC. Okay, Security Exchange Commission, and we have the likes of non-banking institutions, which includes financial companies, insurance houses, pension fund administrators. So all of that, and we have them. The list can continue, all right. And we have all this put together, mixed up the Nigerian financial system. Now let's take a step further. Now let's talk about, just a moment. Okay, so now, speaking of that, let's take a step further and let's talk about what we call the money markets. Okay, the what? Money market. The money market is for short-term debit instruments. Money what? Market. For short-term, all right, the money market is for what we call short-term debt instruments. for short-term debt instruments. Then we have the money market. Now the primary objective of the money market is to what? Raise short-term funds for what? Deficit sectors of the economy from the surplus sectors. Now it's just to balance things. All right. Look at what it says here. Balance. Get from where it is surplus and make it up with the deficit part of the economy. All right. So now some of the tradings that goes on in this market. All right. Trading in short-term securities is the characteristics of the money markets. All right. Short-term trading of what we call short-term securities. Short-term securities. Okay. Short-term security, we have the likes of the trading of treasury bills, treasury certificates. We also have the call money. Call money. All right. We have the treasury bills. Likewise, we have the treasury certificates. All right, all these are the instruments that are being traded, all right, in the money market. Also, we have the bank's unit fund, the commercial papers, and the certificates of deposits. All these are being traded in the money market as a short-term security. Okay, so we have that as that. Now let's continue. Now also we have what we call the capital market. Now what happens in the capital market? This capital market is established to what? Mobilize long-term funds for social, economic, and industrial development. Unlike the money market that is known for short-term, all right, debt instrument, here in the capital market, it is characterized with the mobilization of what? Long-term fund. Okay, capital, excuse me, capital market, all right, characterized with what? The mobilization of long-term funds. Mobilize long-term funds, all right, characterized with the mobilization of long-term funds for what? Social and economic and industrial development. Now these markets can be grouped into what? 3 categories. All right, we have the, all right, can be grouped into 3 categories. All right, so we have the primary, the secondary, and we have the Security and Exchange, all right, Commission. Okay, so now under the primary, the markets is for few, all right, for new issues of securities. Now under the primary, the market is for what? Just a moment. Okay, I think we are good to go now. Now, under the primary market, it is a market for few issues of security. All right, primary, secondary, and we have the Security and Exchange Commission. Now we have the S and SEC. All right, Security and Exchange Commission. So under the primary, all right, few what? Few, it observes few new issues of security, while the secondary consists of exchange of over the counter market with securities that are bought and sold after issuance of primary market. Here, you can only talk of the secondary when you have bought securities from the primary. All right, then it's more like an advanced level of exchange whereby the security acquired from the primary level can be exchanged in the secondary level. Now the Security and Exchange Commission, which is SEC, said to be established in 1978 and is the apex regulatory body of what? the capital market. This is the apex reg body. That reg is regulation of what? Capital markets. So we have that. Now pay attention to the fact that it was established in what? 1979. Okay, it was established in 1979. So we have that as that. So let's take note of that. Please, let's also observe these abbreviations. All right, they are very important. Okay, now we have here. Okay, we talked about SEC, which is the Security and Exchange Commission, established in 1979. So we also have the NDCI. Please let's take note of this acronyms. We have the Deposit Insurance Corporation, or NDIC. Deposit. Okay, now we have the Nigerian. All right, that's the Nigerian deposit. I think that is. Let me just add that. Just going to add that. Nigerian Deposit Insurance Commission Corporation. That is the NDIC. NDIC, Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation. And we also have the Foreign Exchange Market, that is the FEM, Foreign Exchange Market, FEM. Also, we have the Non-Banking Financial Institution, NB, all right, FI, NB, FI, all right, Nigerian Non-Banking Financial Institutions. There's an S, so we have that as that. Now let's continue. So we have the OMO, all right, Open Market Operation, all right, Open Market Operation. That's that for that. So as well, we have the SAP, which is a Structural Adjustment Program, all right, SAP, Structural Adjustment Program. So now let's continue. Okay, so let's take a step further. Now we have the UPE, which is also said to be Universal Primary Education. Universal Primary Education as a UPE. Okay. Now, but just before we talk about the UPE, it says here that Nigerian, all right, speaking of formal education, okay, speaking of education in Nigeria, all right, but basically, what is education? It said here that it is a process by which an individual gains what? Knowledge or insight, or develop attitudes and skills. Now, let's say that again. It's a process, any process by which an individual gains knowledge, all right, insight, or develop attitudes and skills. Okay, Nigeria's formal education system is made up of what we call the primary, all right, the secondary, and the what? Tertiary. All right, primary, secondary, and the tertiary. All right. Now, the tertiary education, the primary, and the secondary is what characterizes the Nigerian education system. Okay. So we have that as that. Now, the primary education is the first, all right? The primary education is said to be what? Is said to be the first component of basic education. The other components being junior secondary, all right? The primary, secondary, and the tertiary, all right? After the primary education, which is the basic component, then the next one, okay, I don't know how to do my camera is cooking. Yeah, I think that's better. So all right, the next one said to be the junior secondary school. Right, after the primary, definitely you're going to junior secondary school, and definitely they partly explain the adoption of the formal university primary education (UPE) in 1976. All right, so there was a formal universal primary education, formal universal primary education. Okay, so there's a formal universal primary education that Nigerian school systems observing. All right, and this formal primary education is introduced or was introduced in 1976. Okay, now and currently this UPE, all right, universal primary education in 1976, and still the current universal basic education system. Now the Nigerian secondary education is for what 12 to 18 years old. All right, so based on 633. All right, Nigerian secondary education. Now, speaking of the educational system, all right, it is based on 633 all right, system of education. Okay, so where we have primary 1 to primary 6, then we have GS1 to GS3, we have SS1 to SS3, then we have university, which is, most of the courses are 4 years, except for very few of them are about 5-6 years. So that is that. The secondary school is of 2 levels. All right, like I made mention already, the junior secondary school and the senior secondary school, and each for a period of 3 years. All right, so let's just say primary, junior secondary, senior secondary, and tertiary education. Okay, so now presently the adoption of universal basic education have changed, all right, in educational system, and is more of 934. All right, 934. Okay, so now in which the case the primary and junior secondary school education is combined to make a compulsory of 9-year education. All right, so the primary and JS is combined to make a compulsory 9 years education. Then we have the senior secondary, then we have the tertiary. Okay, so we have that as that. So now let's move a step. Let's take a step further. Okay. Now let's quickly talk about the Atlantic slave trade. Okay. Now, speaking of the Atlantic slave trade, according to Philip Cotton, said it was the largest known force of intercontinental migration in the world. Okay. Now it was the darkest chapter Atlantic slave trade. Right. So by Philip. All right, Philip Cotton. All right, Cotton said it was what the darkest chapter. All right, in the what in the history of black race. In the history of black race, darkest chapter in the history of black race. All right, so we have the Atlantic slave trade developed after Europe began exploring and establishing trading ports on the Atlantic coast of West Africa in what mid 15th century. Okay, so we have that as that. At a point, this was going well for them. All right, but at the point whereby humanitarian activities, all right, began kicking against this, so it actually, all right, stopped in Britain and the United States when they outlawed the trade. Britain and United States outlawed made it illegal, right? Outlawed slave trade in 1807. In 1807, they outlawed it. 1807 and 1808. And 1808, it was outlawed, and we have that as that. So basically, it's just some points here and there on the trade. So we have that as that. So let's just take 1 or 2 points before calling it wrap for today. Okay, like I said, a lot of things are not going to be discussed in the key points tonight, but they are all available in our key points. So please let's do well to request for our key points and catch up with anything that might be discussed, all right, that we did not cover. I'm not really liking the way my camera is positioned. It's not really covering everything as I would have wanted it. Okay. So time is fast. Let's just take some abbreviation very quickly and call you a wrap for today. Now let's take we have the likes of. Now let's talk about privatization and commercialization. All right, when we talk about privatization, we're simply talking about converting government-owned establishment to privately owned establishment. All right, it's like converting from commercial to private. All right, and commercialization is when institute owned by the government that is not profit oriented is changed into what? Profit oriented one. Then we have commercialization. So we have that as that. Okay, a lot of abbreviations here, a lot of points here, but we might not have enough time to cover all that. And then our next class, I want us to take some other course so that we can cover a lot. Okay, because we still have a long way to go, and exam is fast approaching. Okay, so we have that as that. Now let's really take down this points. Now we have, okay, just a moment. The formation of ECO Bank. All right, this is one bank we all are aware of. We all know the formation of ECO Bank. Okay, now the issue of ECO Bank dates back to 1979. The history of ECO Bank dates back to 1979, when several presidents of West African chambers of commerce and industry began to develop the idea of creating financial institution. Why? To promote intra-African trade within African continent, all right, within African, all right, trade and industry within sub-region, and thereby. So we have the likes of the Federation of West African Chamber of Commerce. That is the Federation of West African Chamber of Commerce. All right, that's the FWACC. The bank was officially opened in March 1989. All right, officially opened in 1989. And some of the objectives of ECO Bank is to contribute to financial, economic, and social development of ECOWAS. Okay, ECOWAS. So we have that as that. So we'll call it wrap here for tonight, and in our next class, we should be taking some other course entirely. All right. So thank you very much, everyone. Please, for those of us who might be in need of the exam keynote, they are very very needed, and we recommend that you get it for your exam. All right. Please do also reach out to us on www.com. You can get to talk to us directly and request for your keynote. That's a wonderful night, right? We look forward to seeing you on the subsequent tutorial. Good night.